Have you got a joke to kick us off?
I do, yeah. You ready for it now?
Go on then.
Right. So just before lockdown, I had 2 tickets for a Motherwell game, left them on the dashboard of my car. Someone broke in and left 2 more.
You're watching the Gog Pods. Today we have been joined by Sam North of Footy Adventures on YouTube. Now, mate, without further ado, tell us a bit about yourself.
Cheers, Gogsy. Yeah, thanks for having me on. So yeah, as you said, my name's Sam. I run the Footy Adventures YouTube channel, and over the past getting on for a year now, I've obviously just had exclusively Scottish content due to the restrictions that were in place and stuff. And yeah, over the past year, I've pretty much ingratiated myself with everything that's good and bad all about Scottish football, from Brechin to Rangers and Celtic, really, just covering a whole plethora of clubs, big and small, up and down the land. Loving it.
Fantastic, mate. Over your travels, you've been to several countries. What stands out as your sort of favourite experience?
I think it's easy to say like it could be Barcelona or Madrid or Ajax or whatever, but I always enjoy going to the lesser known places. So like Sparta Prague was a lot cheaper than the big boys, and the atmosphere was so much better and stuff like that. So to anyone watching, and once things open up and they want to go and watch football abroad, don't go to Spain and spend double what you'd spend in Prague or whatever. Go to a Prague, or like I want to go to Poland eventually. But I always, when get asked that question, like the first thought in my mind is the ultras at Sparta Prague, and that city itself, and the football and the culture and stuff was just great. Loved it.
Like I also saw you went to like Indonesia and Australia. Like how is football received over there? Like because of course you've seen over the last year what Scottish football is like and how wrapped up everyone is in it. What is it like over there?
I think those countries have a massive population of people who watch European football, I'd say, over their own. So like all my mates, I lived in Australia for 3 years, and my mates out there would watch the Premier League. They'd stream it on Optus Sport, which is the streaming service out there. They'd all watch that at like 3 a.m, but you'd barely get anyone going to one of their games. Like, I don't think they're as fussed about that. And the same in Indonesia, I suppose. Like, I watched Bali United. They sung "You'll Never Walk Alone," and they had "Alay, Alay, Alay," and like all these different English like football chants and stuff. And it's just so wrapped up in like European and English football that I guess the locals aren't that bothered about that. I guess there are some that love their local teams and stuff, but it's not as thought of, I guess, as like the European leagues are in those countries, I suppose. Yeah, still some good like football cultures and like experiences to be had out there and stuff, and there are the hardcores that would go to those games, but they do love their European football as much as their own, I think.
Because when Motherwell got this Indian goalkeeper on trial called Dheeraj Singh, like there was all of a sudden a frenzy of Indian followers coming in and commenting on every post Motherwell put out which would feature Dheeraj Singh. It's the same with Motherwell having Ugandan centre back Bevis Mugabe. Like we've got an influx of somehow Ugandan followers starting to comment on the club as well.
I suppose that's what can happen with football. Like it's so good at bringing people together, and you look, I think there's a big Kenyan population of Spurs fans through like Wanyama and stuff. And like you get like one of these players that go and make it big, and then that country or that region specifically will just like latch onto a team and stuff. And I love that about football. I don't think you'd get that in any other sport, would you? Really where else would Motherwell get a mention in the Ugandan press or the Indian press or whatever? I think it's great.
Fair enough.
The best.
So of course, there is a stigma around football vlogging. What would you say is the biggest misconception?
I'm not sure, actually. I'm not sure about the biggest misconception. I'm sure there's like the odd, like, I think there's sections, like I would never go and film in an ultras section or whatever. Like, I think there's certain sections where it's like completely banned to film in, especially like Sparta Prague, and there's an ultras section that I went to at a game in Indonesia and stuff where you literally couldn't even film, not even on your phone or whatever. So I think there's like a section of football fans that would are just against having your phone out at a match, which is kind of understandable. I think I was probably the same before I started doing it. Like, you want to go there for the atmosphere and you want to add to the game and stuff. But at the end of the day, it's all like exposure for the clubs, I guess. And like, you're always going to get some negativity from fans at games. But I've really never really encountered that. I've never had anyone come up to me and say, "Oh, what are you doing? Stop filming," that kind of stuff. It's always been kind of well received. But I obviously have heard stories of, vloggers getting shouted at or whatever. Has it happened to you at games?
Yeah, it has a few times. Aberdeen's really bad for it.
Mhm.
Because I know someone who does Aberdeen content, and I got told off one time. It was actually last year when I was at Aberdeen versus Motherwell. Motherwell won 1-0,
Yeah.
and we just scored right before half time. And as I was doing my wee bit, because I got the goal in film, and as I was doing my wee bit just at half time, just talking about the match, like you can actually see in the background, like stewards and officers are starting to crowd round me, and then just as I click off, like they're like, "Can we see your footage?" And they're like,
You want
pure
to see the
like,
footage?
aye, like
What
they,
was their concern about what was on the footage? The goal.
just because I filmed the pitch, which is
But
fair
like,
enough, but
imagine the amount of people with iPhones that are just like
mm,
taking pictures or filming like parts of the game to send to their mates. Like, it's no different. And to be honest, like, I think what you or I do at a match should be encouraged and not like discouraged like that. But I guess the more people that do it, the more normal it'll become. But what is the difference between you or I filming for a vlog than it is someone filming to send it to their mates or taking a picture of the pitch? Like, I think it's just some probably overzealous
yeah.
stewards who are looking for something to do and when they just be
Thing
standing there. I
is,
don't
it's
know.
happened twice for me at Pataudry. The other team, funnily enough, Motherwell won as well.
Mhm.
And like I've filmed my matchday vlogs when we've been beaten 7-2 up at Pataudry and no one's batted an eyelid. But because my team's winning,
Yeah.
oh, you're not allowed to have any fun here.
If that's like part of their reasoning for doing it, then I mean, they should be sacked on the spot, really, those stewards. But yeah, I think there's always gonna be those stewards
Oh
who
yeah, definitely.
support their team and then just like have no mates and then just want to come and have a go at you for doing your thing. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, but I think COVID's sort of changed my perspective as well, though, because
Hmm.
like we've started doing all these live streams. It's like I'm more of a case of, well, what if we actually get to do like sort of extend the show and perhaps maybe get into the grounds anyway, and just just do our show in the press boxes. That
Yeah, I hope that that's the way it's going for, 'cause it's the new media, really. It's like how many millions of users are on YouTube and watching football content, and people are doing it from their bedrooms. You see, like Thogden doing it from his living room. You got yourself, and you get a load of people on, and like I guess there's loads of other streamers and stuff like that who are watching football content. Have had to change the way they do content, I guess, especially this year and last year and stuff. So, I think the more people start to do that, I think the more opportunities will come to YouTubers to get in press boxes and do streaming. Like, why should all these massive broadcasters from abroad come and get a press box and stuff? Why can't
like a
young
local
YouTubers get an
brand.
opportunity? Yeah, I think it will happen eventually.
Yeah. So speaking of all this COVID and that, um, what would you say is an average day in life for yourself compared to pre-COVID?
Just like, I feel like sometimes obviously the days just merge into one. Like,
Yeah.
the average day now is, if I'm not like filming or editing or whatever, it'll just be sitting around waiting for some good news, waiting for that next, first minister or prime minister speech to tell us that something new is going to happen and stuff. And it's been tough, I guess, for people like myself and like yourself who are, young and want to get on with things and stuff like that. But like, it's understandable, I guess, to a certain extent why we're in a lockdown. But especially the past few months has been tough. But you see with the things that are happening, maybe it's going to get like unlocked a little bit sooner. But day in the life, it doesn't get much different than just getting up, sticking on my Carlisle United career mode and just playing that for a few hours, watching a Gogsy Motherwell Stranraer away
Yes.
vlog, back on FIFA for another couple of hours, and then have a gin in the evening, and then just do the same the next day. Really, FIFA, gin, Gogsy repeat.
Get that on a t-shirt.
Yeah, that's the next merch drop to happen for Gogsy's channel.
Fair enough, because I don't think my sort of lifestyle as such really changed. Like my university term down south curtailed, obviously, and I had to basically come back home and just submit all my work from there. But apart from that, it's pretty much what I would be doing during holidays anyway.
Yeah, it's just you can't really see your mates or go further afield or whatever. But hopefully we get some good news soon. That, like you say, the schools are going back or whatever. That's surely the first step, and then
absolutely,
football follows shortly after.
Would you say COVID has changed anything in your life that may stay the same once the pandemic's over?
I hope not. I think obviously, you know how everyone says that this is now the new normal or whatever. Think of how big a change it would have seemed a year ago to have to sit indoors for a year and basically not see anyone. It would have seemed like such a massive shift. And the fact that now it just seems normal after a year, I think it won't be as hard to go back to normal as what maybe we think it will. I think it just seems a long way away at the moment, just because of how long we've been locked down and how desperate we all are to get out of it. But I think that once things do open up, we'll go back to normal fairly quickly. Like, we moved into this strange world and now it seems normal. I think we'll be able to go back to normal once we're allowed to fairly easily. But will things have changed? I think from a content point of view, I think that will maybe change. Like, I used to be reliant on football matches and stadium tours for my content, whereas nowadays I've had to try and make videos from outside of stadiums and like really think outside the box for the ways in which I make videos. So I think that's been a positive. Like, one of the rare shining lights of COVID has been the fact that I've been able to make different kinds of videos that I'll hopefully carry on into once things open up, as well as doing the usual games tours or that kind of stuff as well.
Because I've noticed, like, when we weren't in lockdown and all I did was rely on football matches. Like, I'd be happy uploading once or twice a week, just doing 2 games or something like that. But I sort of enjoy being more creative with my videos, and although it may not get the same amount of views, I feel like a creative itch has been scratched. I don't know about yourself.
I think obviously, like, there's certain channels that I watch who some big channels as well, like not just football related, but other just like YouTube channels that I absolutely loved watching, who you look at their channel this year and they've uploaded like 10 videos or something. And it's just like, surely even these big boys who have like got a load of money, mate, like Nico Milano, I don't know if you know him. I love his videos and stuff, but I think I don't even know if he's uploaded 10 times this year. And it's just like, surely you could think of something to do, even like, you're big enough to surely be able to sustain something. I'm not sure, but then again, you might be big enough that you can just sit back for a year and go, I'm not going to do anything, I'm going to wait for it all to blow over, sort of thing. So I think that like, people could still have done stuff, but the ones who have had to think outside the box and change what they do, and like yourself, like, you've gone on to the streaming side of things and stuff, and you're uploading so regularly now, and it's changed what you do as a channel, but it's only given you more like branches to work on once things get back to normal.
Yeah, definitely. Because, like, although I may go to the game and then it'll take me 4 hours to get back, review all the footage, and then start editing. Like, the fact that there's instant content there, that provides the sort of live viewers, and that actually brings in more viewers than, say, Matchday Vlog does, which is great, but not so great in terms of a Matchday Vlog at the same time.
Yeah, it's different. It's obviously different kinds of content, but the more like strings you have to your bow at the end of the day will be better for you in the long run, I suppose. Which is absolutely. Like, the thing that content creators have had to do is try different things and look at away days. You look at Ellis, he's doing all this football shirt stuff in lockdown. Yourself and Thogden and stuff, doing streaming and just things you wouldn't have done beforehand as much, I don't think. So I think when we look back, we'll be like, oh, that was a good learning curve or whatever. But at the end of the day, I think we all want to get back to normal, though.
Oh yeah, definitely. If there was one rule you could change in football, what would it be?
I think it's surely everyone's got the same answer.
VAR.
Starts with V and it rhymes with tar. Yeah, it has to be VAR. Like, I think it's so good that Scotland don't have it. Like, I was watching the cycling GK, Ben Foster, earlier.
Oh, yeah.
And even he was saying, have you seen any of his vlogs?
I have seen a few of Ben Foster's vlogs, yeah.
They're pretty good. And but even he was saying, like, as a player, he absolutely hates VAR, and like all players will agree. I just think that what is the point in having a computer system that's to decide things when it takes more time and it's still decided by humans anyway? Humans are going to make errors based off of the 2 millimeter armpit rule as much as they are sticking their flag up at the wrong time. So it just seems pointless. Either we scrap it completely, or teams have 2 calls per game, 3 calls per game, like in tennis. Once you've used them all up, you got to sack it off. But it should. The rules came in for clear and obvious rules, and like you see the way it's changing the game. I don't know if you've watched many of the Premier League games lately, but like say someone is like a yard offside, the linesman won't put his flag up in case there's a goal. In case there's a goal, but if there's not a goal, it'll go off for a corner or something to that attacking team. But he was a yard offside, but then they'll take the corner, and it's like the linesmen are told not to put their flag up, and they're losing that offside, and then the game goes on to something else. And it's just so many loopholes in VAR. I hate it.
They have to wait until the end of the phase of the play to then put.
But sometimes that phase goes on, and it's a favourable decision, even just like a throw in to the team that was offside, but it still doesn't get put back for offside. And the defending team should have had a free kick or whatever for the offside. And it's just, there's stuff like that. There's like,
it's just so stupid.
It is. I don't know how's best to improve it. I think maybe, giving teams the opportunity to maybe have a call or whatever. But
it's not just that though. I mean, it could potentially one day enhance the percentage for an injury as well. Because what if someone's clearly offside, but the assistant referee can't put his flag up, and the player runs through and goal, the goalkeeper just wipes him out?
It's going to happen. And also, like, I'm probably coming off it from my own personal point of view as well, because 2 weeks in a row, Mike Dean ruined my fantasy team. I had Bednarek, and his red card got overturned. And I think he scored no goal that game as well. And then I had Souček the week after. And you saw Mike Dean watching it 20, 30 times. You know, the Souček where he put his elbow up. And his elbow brushed Mitrovic's face, Fulham. And he was watching it in slow-mo so many times. And when it's in normal time, you wouldn't really give it a second glance or whatever. And then, like, because it's, like,
but it's when you slow things down, that's when it looks a lot worse than it actually is.
Which is why they should only look at it in a real-time thing, because it's like not fair. But I don't know. I think VAR's got to go. How about you? What other rules would you change if not VAR? Because I think that's just an obvious
interesting suggestions over the time on the podcast. But for me, one thing that annoys me is, apart from VAR, because I'm actually a fan of VAR, because if as long as the decision is the right call, then that's all I care about. Because there's nothing worse than leaving a ground saying, "Oh, we should have had a penalty and we'd have won 1-0 and it saved us from relegation."
Yeah.
But off the top of my head, one rule I would change for Football Manager purposes, the fact that when you're in European football and you have to use at least 4 homegrown players that have grown from your club, that annoys me when I've only got 3. And I want to bring in my new marquee signing, and I can't because I can't use any replacements. That annoys me.
I'll tell you what's a good one. Back in like the 1800s, throw-ins weren't for who kicked it out; it was for who retrieved the ball first. I think they should bring that back.
Really?
It wasn't like that. It was like it'd get booted off, and you'd have to go and retrieve it. Whoever got it would have the throw-in. Bring that back, I say.
No, that would be class. That would be class.
You'd have like players fighting over the ball on the touchline. That'd be absolutely quality.
It's not just that though. If you're winning 1-0 and you have to win the game, all you need to do is just boot the ball out for a throw-in and just get your fastest guy to run out of the ball.
It'd be so much more tactical on throw-ins. Honestly, that's the one they should bring back.
Like, no one actually gives a shit about throw-ins unless you've got Rory Delap in your team.
And that was, those days are long gone now. I miss Rory Delap. Tony Pulis, Rory Delap, Crouchy. Oh, couldn't beat that for a bit of excitement. No one does that anymore. I don't know why no one does long throws anymore.
It's like they were happier with throw-ins and corners.
Yeah. On the Peter Crouch podcast, he was saying that when he played for Stoke, he saw opposition players kick it out for corners, panic, put it out for a corner rather than a throw-in. So he knew that Delap was just such a danger man.
Funnily enough, Motherwell once played against a team in Europe called Clinically. We played against them. They had Andy Legg, who was quite dangerous from a throw-in, and they scored against us by a long throw-in. We lost the game 1-0 at home and won 3-0 away, thankfully. But I was.
Did you go?
What?
Did you go to the away leg?
I didn't go to the away leg. I went to the home one. But like long throw-ins, like they're just carnage. Like it's just.
I know, it's so hard to defend against.
Like you have no idea where the ball's gonna go.
It can just be so direct as well. Like when you're kicking it, I feel like you don't have that control. When you're throwing it, just bullet it into the box.
Aye, like you have no idea whether it's going to be too long or too short.
Well, yeah, like I think Shawcross and whoever else was centre back at the time used to go up for throw-ins. You'd usually go up for a free kick or whatever, but when you got Rory Delap on the ball, it's like, up you get, boys, come on.
Oh, definitely. Like it was just something completely bizarre but new, and no one actually ever seen that before in the Premier League, which was great.
And everyone goes on about the like genius new tactics of Pep Guardiola and stuff like that, but no one mentions Tony Pulis and his genius long throw tactic of like 2007 or whatever it was.
Or last season with Sheffield United's overlapping centre halves.
Oh, genius. Absolute genius from Chris Wilder.
Oh, it was brilliant. What would you say is your favourite item of memorabilia you've picked up?
Favourite item of memorabilia? I've got a Liverpool scarf with like a load of my badges on from games I've been to and stuff, which I quite like. But I quite like all the stuff that I've been given since I've started YouTube, like whether that be a press pass for a game or like a scarf from a club. I think it's nice to have things that I've worked hard for and like clubs have given me and stuff. Like that's always somewhere I kind of wanted to get to with YouTube, and to have like press passes and team sheets and stuff from games. I quite like having those. How about yourself?
I quite like what you just said. I always have to bring this out. The James McFadden.
Oh yeah. I saw that on your Robbie Knox. Yeah.
That signed. That was just absolutely fantastic by James to do that. But
I'm sure you got some stuff from the charity match as well, maybe a shirt and stuff. Oh yeah. It's always good to have
I've
stuff
got my
you've
shirt
worked
somewhere.
on. Yeah.
I
watched that the other day. I didn't realise you scored a brace in the second half.
Yeah, I did.
At Ockleview at one of those games. Mate, that's class.
Oh, it was like the rush when I scored my first goal. I was like I've never celebrated.
Finish was the first one where it like comes in on the half volley or something. Yeah, was that the first one?
The half volley, and then the second one, like you could easily just pass it into the bottom corner, but I just slashed it in the roof.
Smashed it, not taking any chances.
No, just leave your mark in the game.
Absolutely, yeah, man. That's such a good performance coming on, bagging a brace.
I know that was probably the best I've ever played in a football match.
Like when it matters, big game player.
When it matters, like the game against Falkirk as well. I played out my skin that day as well. Got an assist, but I mean, when I played boys club, like I was a regular substitute, so I was used to coming on making an impact. Because I wasn't really the strongest, so I wasn't like the type that would hold up the play and then just wait for the rest of the team to come up. I was just sort of just run at the ball and like the wee Jack Russell.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, fair play. Nice.
I've also got a wall of just ticket stubs around my mirror.
Yeah, you can't beat a good ticket stub programs, all that stuff, like just years and years of footballing memories that you'd otherwise forget, wouldn't you? Like without a pin badge or a ticket. Or
what would you say is your highest valued ticket stub?
Highest valued ticket stub. I've been to a few League Cup finals.
All right.
Um,
Nice.
Liverpool we won against Cardiff, one we lost against City. Everton in the FA Cup semi-final. Do you remember that when it was Liverpool-Everton at Wembley and we went 1-0 down? Suarez scored and Andy Carroll scored an 86th minute header.
I can't remember that game.
I think it's the only Merseyside derby at the new Wembley. So I went to that. That's pretty good. And then put Liverpool Dortmund as well. Probably all my Liverpool games. First England game.
Was that the game that Liverpool came back at Anfield?
Yeah, that was insane. Honestly,
game. Brilliant game.
But like, I moved to Australia shortly after that, and I missed out pretty much on all the good parts of the Klopp era, and all my best Liverpool games were like when we had Brendan Rodgers and Kenny Dalglish as manager, and we had Suso and like it was Balotelli and stuff like that. So Joe Allen, these average players, and I missed out on like the majority of the Klopp era, which is a shame, but good to see it from afar. But yeah, those are probably some of my best games. But also England's first game back at the new Wembley against Brazil to open in a friendly to open it back up. I think John Terry scored for us. I can't remember who scored for Brazil. I remember Ronaldinho played. I think Kaká played as well. So that was pretty good to be at that one.
Then.
Yeah.
I would say one of my most valuable is when Motherwell beat Rangers at Hampden. I've got it on the wall.
What was that in?
That was the Betfred Cup semi-final. Louis Moult scored twice. Also the playoff against Rangers. I've also got a ticket from my first trip to Celtic Park, which Motherwell won 2-1.
Yeah. That's a good start to life at Celtic Park for you.
And then
it's only going to go downhill after that, though. That's the only thing.
We haven't won there since, so it was a bit of a bad omen. A few trips to Aberdeen, which were great.
Yeah.
A few randoms as well. Scotland tickets. I've been to Stoke. I went on a school trip with my school, obviously, and we did 2 games over the space of one weekend. We did Stoke beating Man City 2-0 on Saturday. Outfit scored twice, and then on the way back up on the Sunday, we went via Old Trafford for the tour of Old Trafford, and then we went to Newcastle, Liverpool, and Wijnaldum scored twice, and Newcastle won 2-0.
Sounds like a great school trip. That I don't get much better than that.
That's like the best school trip you could ever plan.
That beats any old like museum or whatever. You know?
No, I know, 100%.
What a school!
I know, like that was the only reason why I stayed on for 6th year, like at school
for the hope of another trip. I want
to go to that Premiership experience trip.
The bright lights of Stoke.
Aye, it was absolutely class. Like I did a whole video of it, and it was like an hour and a half long. I just did a whole film. I mean, it's probably not the best film I've produced, but it's certainly still on the channel.
I'll check it out after this. But yeah, I've been on a Goggsy binge lately. Some of those trips, like I said earlier, you're on to Stranraer. It's absolutely class. Who was it that you were doing a conga and then he scored?
Peter Hartley conga, and then he scores in the game.
Like you couldn't make that up. Then you lost on pens.
I know.
Against Stranny. Yeah, some of those trips look quality. Like obviously I've seen a lot of these stadiums now, and it's just time that I have to go there, like go and see some actual matches and stuff. Yeah, such a shame, but like even just the football being on at League 1 and 2 and Lowland level, because that was where I was going to most of my games and had a few planned coming up for January. But the fact that they've just stopped all that football, what are your thoughts on that? Like,
I mean, I can see why they've done it, because those clubs can't really afford regular kits for
testing.
Tests.
Yeah,
but at the same
didn't they say they'd bring something in so they could do regular testing or something?
I hope they do, because I mean, when I pick a Saturday 3 p.m. coupon, I usually pick whoever plays Brecon City, whoever Queen's Park. Cove Rangers are usually a good stick on, Falkirk, and they're all not playing at the moment, so I'm cut down to.
You can always bank on a few of them to be over 2.5 as well.
Oh, I know. Like there's usually at least 3 or more goals in the games.
Yeah,
So,
oh man, it's shocking. But yeah, I hope they can get back. It's just like there's so much hypocrisy for me in football. Like down at National League level in England, you've got teams like Dover and Darlington and stuff, like teams from the Conference North, Conference South. There's a certain amount of teams who've had to pull out of the league because they can't afford to travel around and fulfill fixtures. Yet you've got Liverpool, I don't know, they're my team. I want them to play and I want to see Champions League matches. But you've got Liverpool taking a private jet to Budapest to play RB Leipzig in the Champions League, yet the foundations of football aren't able to play their games. And it's the same up here. Like Celtic are allowed to go on a trip to Dubai, Rangers are playing in Europe, yet like
there's no
these
help for the
clubs
lower
can't
teams.
afford to test. And it's just like, how can clubs sleep at night paying transfer fees and these huge wages when the players that will potentially be coming through at these small clubs to come and play for the big clubs in 2, 3, 4 years time aren't getting a chance to play?
I mean, that is a point that I don't think I've actually heard anyone make. And
It's a shame.
From that point of view, it is an absolute shame because, I mean, if we didn't have these smaller teams, you wouldn't have the bigger ones.
Look, we wouldn't have Jamie Vardy, Mikel Antonio, like Yannick Bolasie, all these players who have played in the Premier League who have come from non-league football. And say there's a non-league player or even like a Scottish League 1, League 2 player out there now who's 20 years old, who's had a year of his footballing career just cut completely out. That could be the most formative year of his football career. And now he's never going to reach the heights that he maybe would have done if he were just allowed to play.
It's a very good point. It's nagging me, but what is that Scotland badge thing behind you? Is it like a cushion or what?
It's like a little thing made out of card that came in a load of pieces that you had to kind of
nice
put together. I've got a video where I built it. I'll send you a link to it later on.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah, brilliant. So when Scotland play England at the Euros, what side of the fence are you?
I'm so desperate for there to be fans and like for Scotland fans to be able to go down to like Trafalgar Square and all that. But I think a lot of English fans, like maybe 20 years ago or whatever, would have been like, oh, fuck Scotland. Like we don't want them to qualify or whatever. Whereas now I think I've always been, when it comes to Champions League and I see United, Chelsea, Arsenal, whatever, City doing well, I hate it. I hate the club teams doing well in Europe. But I would always want Scotland, England, Wales, Northern Ireland and Ireland to qualify for a tournament. I think it's just so much better for the country to have all the national teams in a tournament. And I'm obviously will support England for the game. So any other game, like that Serbia game, I was celebrating when Scotland went through. Of course, like same with Wales when they qualified for Euro 2016. I thought that was amazing that they qualified. Yeah. I think it was their first tournament for like 50, 60 years or something.
Since 1958, I think it was.
Yeah, since the 50s. And then they played England and obviously we beat them and I was buzzing. We almost didn't. I don't know if you remember that game. Joe Hart let in the softest goal ever.
I actually remember I was sitting in maths that day and I just had behind my pencil case, I had the Euros on because Euros was on during the school.
During the day, yeah.
And I was just like, right, so we'll just sit there we go, connect to the Wi-Fi, watching the game. So I went mental when Gareth Bale scored because I was cheering on Wales. Because up here, it's
you want the underdog to win.
Yeah, that too. But anyone but England. So,
but that's classic England. Like Vardy came off the bench and scored that game, and we started like Kane. And I think Wilshere was at that tournament when he basically didn't play a game all season. He came back from injury like a week before the tournament, and Southgate picked him.
Crisis there.
That's classic England, and we always do that. Rather than playing like the best players, we'll just pick some bloke because he plays for Arsenal or Spurs or whatever.
It was a bit like that for us up here. Like players would play fantastically for their regional club, and then they'd sign for Rangers or Celtic or get moved down south, and then now they're gonna get picked. Like when Mark Birchall,
reputation over form.
Yeah. It was like when Mark Birchall signed for Celtic, he was instantly called up into the Celtic squad. And it's going to probably be the same for David Turnbull when
the squads come around. But I guess managers do that because they don't want to, like, say they don't pick the biggest names and it doesn't go well. then that's an obvious reason for them to get blamed. But like, there's no bravery in that. There's no bravery in picking the team that you think might win over the players' names. And like, I feel like you're going to hit the quarters or the semis by doing that potentially, but you won't go any further.
Yeah.
Whereas if you don't do that, you might go further, but you might fall way more short. I think it's a lot less certain. But I don't know. Southgate for you in England.
Absolutely. So where were you that moment that Mitrovic had his penalty saved?
I was in my living room and I was watching it on my laptop and I was buzzing. I just remember being so happy for Scotland. But then, like, you see him going like that to the ref, like, can I celebrate? The keeper was like, oh, and then eventually he could. And no, it's really good. Like, I think like everyone, I think we were all probably like locked down at home. I think that was probably during the lockdown part of the thing. But yeah, big moment. Sat in my living room watching it, streaming it, and just good to see Scotland going through. But again, like, that big empty stadium, it just seems like a little bit of an opportunity missed. As a Liverpool fan, like, you see, we can celebrate the league title, and it looks like there's going to be another league title won before things go back to normal. So it's 30 years wait, and we're going to probably have to wait another 30 years now. And you see teams like Bayern Munich won a treble, probably couldn't celebrate it out in Germany, and Harrogate coming up into the league for the first time, Wickham in the Championship, Rangers, it's probably going to happen too. I don't know what it's going to be like in a few months when they wrap that up mathematically. And I just don't want it to be the same for the Euros. Like, it's got the potential to be such a good Euros with England playing Scotland. And if it's just another one of those like fleeting stories that we'll just have to watch from our living rooms, I think it'll be a bit of a shame.
It is an absolute shame that like all the biggest things are happening in football right now and we can't watch it.
I know we couldn't have had just City winning the league again and everything just kind of being normal, could we? We had to have like some of the biggest moments ever. I suppose there'd always be big moments in football that you could look back at and say, oh, that's a shame, that's a shame. But there are a few in there that are a bit heartbreaking, I suppose.
And like, I've already discussed this, like, it'll be completely typical Scotland. The only two things we qualify in my life will be the Euros this year and then Qatar in 2022, and then we won't even make the Euros in Germany in 2024. And when everything's back to normal, like, we won't qualify for anything.
I still can't believe the World Cup's going to be in Qatar.
I mean, I'll still plan to go.
Yeah, I'd love to go, honestly. It could be mad.
I don't mind paying 15 quid for a pint, as long as Scotland are there.
Oh, do you reckon they will?
I mean, not in Scotland, probably. The fact that Denmark, who are in our qualifying group, like, they don't even
Austria as well.
Denmark and Austria, it's like it's the best chance that Scotland have ever had of getting out of World Cup qualifying group, because that's always more difficult than the Euros.
Yeah, I did a video on that. I gave Scotland quite a good chance. Why don't you think Denmark want to go?
Because there was an article of, I think it was soon after the draw was made, and there was an article released that Denmark weren't really wanting to participate in the Qatar World Cup or whatever because it was in Qatar and because of human rights and that. But the thing is, as a football fan myself, I don't think about the common decency of human rights and that. I just think about the football and what
I know what you mean. Yeah, there's a line, like, if you want to cross it and go into the politics and all that kind of stuff, you can. But I think most football fans just want to care about the football. Gary Neville did a good documentary on the Qatar World Cup a couple of years ago, where he visited like the stadiums that were getting built, because I think essentially they're just shipping people in from really poor countries and paying them nothing, and they're not allowed to leave building sites, and there's people dying building the stadiums and stuff.
Yeah, pretty bad.
So it's, I think, a bit unmoral, but I think that's just like football down to a T. Like, you've got these massive entities like FIFA and UEFA who are just insanely corrupt, and then you've got all these massive transfer fees when, like I say, Dover can't play their games, and like Falkirk aren't allowed to play because Brechin can't afford to test their players. And it's like, if you'd have taxed every transfer fee in 2021 1% and given that to the poorest clubs in each country, how could that have helped all these clubs? I think it would have been massive. But they'll pay. I'd hate to think how many agent fees have been paid this year as well. All this money going to agents when there's clubs dying. It just seems like doesn't sit right with me. And it's just so corrupt, the game. And the bidding for Qatar and for Russia was like they were all of those like committee members that were found in like being corrupt, and you got Platini over at UEFA and stuff. It's just and Sepp Blatter, all those people. It's just like at the top, you got these awful corrupt people when all the fans want to do is just be able to watch potentially a local teams play. I mean, it just can't be done.
Exactly. I mean, I'd be happy to just do a swab test like before I go into the grounds. Like, even if I have to wait outside for half an hour for it to come through, like just turn up at like 1 o'clock before a 3 o'clock kickoff. I'm absolutely happy to do that.
I just wonder how long that'd take, like with a few thousand people turning up, like
right, just a few thousand.
Imagine a couple of thousand people at a Motherwell game, and then how many people do you need on the testing? Like,
true.
I think football is going to be one of the last things to.
Oh, it definitely will be. Like, football is very low down in the priority list for the government.
When it should... especially up here, I feel like the government hate football.
They absolutely do. Like if a rugby fan does something, oh yeah, that's fine. You can go ahead and just do whatever you want. But when it comes to football, which is much more popular than rugby, I must add, no, absolutely not.
I saw a good argument on Twitter the other day. Like Sturgeon said something about the Rangers players, and then she said something about football as a whole. But someone said on Twitter, like, if an employee of Tesco broke the lockdown rules, you wouldn't blame the entire supermarket sector for that mistake. And it's like so true. Like Bolly, when he went to Spain in the summer, that Celtic player, and the Aberdeen players who went out, and it's like she gave the whole of football a yellow card when the whole of football have to change. Like I've been to a lot of clubs like Brora Rangers up in the north, and they've had to, these clubs have to do like 100-page documents that they have to submit to government and SFA, where they've got red zones where it's players and officials, amber zones where it's like press, and green zones where like fans potentially need to go. And you have to divide the stadiums up and come up with like risk assessments and all this kind of stuff. And they've done all that. And they've done so much good stuff to try and bring it back safely. And then one or two people do a bad thing, and the government tarnish the whole of football with that brush. And it's like, come on.
No, it's. I mean, if they walked a mile in our shoes, then they'd probably see what angle we're coming from. But for the time being, I highly doubt it. Highly doubt it.
Yeah, same.
Anyway, moving on to the next question. If there was any footballer you could have been self-isolated with, who would it have been and why?
Oh, that's a good question. It'd have to be someone fun, I suppose. I don't think like Messi or Ronaldo would be that fun. They'd be so keen on just like doing press-ups 30 hours a day or whatever. Yeah. So it wouldn't be one of them. It'd probably have to be someone like Jimmy Bullard, I suppose.
Yeah, that's a shout. Like, you can just
have a few drinks. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, go down, like if you're in the same household, you could go down the park, ping a few balls at the goal nets and stuff. Have a good time. Maybe Vardy, someone like that. He likes a drink. Somebody like that, I suppose. Wrighty, I do like Ian Wright.
Oh, Ian Wright's class, yeah.
Absolute legend.
You've obviously got a much more open insight, because I just have down here, for me, Alex Morgan.
Is that the only one?
Well, if you know who Alex Morgan is.
Oh, the American striker. Oh, right. I get where you're coming from now. Yes. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, fair play. Can't not keep that. That's a good choice. Anyway, I was trying to think who's that. I thought it was like a Motherwell centre-back or something.
No.
And then I twigged. I was like, oh, right, yeah. Okay.
No, but in fairness, I did play a bit of pro clubs with like Tony Watt, Declan Gallagher, and Sherwin. The other footballers as well. I actually still speak to Marvin Bartley on a regular basis, captain of Livingston. So hopefully he'll be lifting the Betfred Cup in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, who is it? Livingston St Johnston, isn't
it?
Who do you reckon's going to win? Livy?
I hope it's Livingston. I really do.
I think it's nice to see different cup winners finally.
For what?
It's going to do so much for the game abroad. Like, imagine see when PSG win the league every year, you just go, oh, PSG have won the league. I'm not going to look into that anymore. Say Marseille won the league or Lyon or whatever, you'd be like, even like you probably wouldn't watch the highlights for the whole season, but towards the end of the season, you'd watch the highlights, you'd watch them lift the trophy, you'd watch the run and see what's happening with the fans, research it a little bit more, find out a little bit more what's going on. Like even with the Betfred Cup and like even I think with the league title going to Rangers and stuff, I think Celtic fans will obviously disagree. They'll want to win every trophy every year, but it won't do as much for the game up here. And I think you'll see more interest from abroad, not just from fans and stuff, but from potential players who might want to come here rather than go to Holland or Portugal, or like another league where it's just a little bit more competitive, I suppose. Like when you're up here, you only see them in the Europa League. I think if more players can come because they think it's more competitive, the big teams might be able to get in the Champions League again. I think it's a shame that you don't see teams from Scotland in the Champions League group stages anymore. And I think it's purely down to the fact that for the past 10 years, it's just been a one-team league and it's been too easy domestically. And then you can't transfer that into a European sense. Like there's never going to be that level of competitiveness week in, week out that makes you good enough to be at that top level, I don't think.
And it was an absolute shame because like Celtic would have been happy with just finishing third in the Champions League group stage.
Yeah.
Just as long as they're playing European football after Christmas, that's...
Oh, both of those teams would die for Champions League group stage football.
Oh,
now.
Yeah, but now...
And wasn't there a thing a few years ago that it was just like it wouldn't be the league finishes that finished in European places, and you'd have tiny teams go like Gretna got into the UEFA Cup.
Queen of the South got in, Dunfermline, Falkirk, because it was like teams were like just happy qualifying for the Scottish Cup final, and then they end up getting beat by Rangers or Celtic, and then
but that'd get you into the UEFA Cup qualifying round. Then you'd lose to a team from Liechtenstein.
Yeah, exactly, because Falkirk got
Falkirk, yeah.
But then they changed it that if the winner had already qualified for European football, then it would go to the next place in the league.
Which I think it should have been anyway. Like, I mean, imagine sending some of your not best teams to Europe and then losing your ranking and then being behind countries like Romania or Belarus who get an automatic group stage spot and Scotland don't. It's just like, oh.
I mean,
Celtic and Rangers are massive. They should be in the group stage, I think.
Don't get me wrong. I'd love to see a team like East Fife get their day in European football.
Same. It's a great story, but I don't think it helps.
It is a great story. It'd be something worth documenting. Like East Fife having an away day to Barcelona. That'd be superb. But it would not help the coefficient at all. And I'm a massive fan of the coefficient. So, like, even though I dislike Rangers and Celtic a lot, I cheer them on in European football.
What do you think about the European Super League? Do you think Celtic and Rangers would ever be included in that if it started tomorrow?
You know what? If they went, I wouldn't be bothered. Like, as much as they bring good gate receipts to Motherwell, like, it blows the league wide open. Like, anyone can finish third in Scottish football. And that, for me, when Motherwell finished third last season, as far as I'm concerned, we won the league because there was no way we were going to finish higher.
Yeah, fair enough.
Celtic. So,
what do you think it will take for a non-Old Firm team to win the league again? It's been 40 years almost?
A regular investment of about £20 million a season, because for a start, Celtic and Rangers are averaging how many fans a week at home?
Yeah, 50, 60,000.
And then, like, Aberdeen can't even get 15,000 at times. And then Hearts sell out quite a lot. But then again, they only have about 18,000 home fans.
Yeah.
Hibernian, pretty much the same. And, I mean, Hearts fans say that, we're third best supported team in the country. But then again, you look at the population of Edinburgh, and then you look at the capacity of Tynecastle.
Yeah, they could do more to get more fans in there.
Yeah, I mean, Scotland is like the best supported.
For percentage of population.
Yeah, per capita.
Yeah,
but at the same time, we've only got 5 million people in Scotland. So there's not really a lot of scope for Scotland to do better.
A lot of comments I get on my videos are that there's too many teams in Scotland. What are your thoughts on that? Do you reckon, would you restructure the league or what?
I mean, I would be a massive fan of just 2 leagues in Scotland, but it being 20 and 22. And then, because I think, although you wouldn't get the 4 Old Firm games a season in the league, as a fan of just, like, I'm fed up of going to see Motherwell play St Johnstone 4 times a year. Like, I would rather see us play Wraith Rovers twice, as well as Rangers and Celtic twice. Like, I think
guaranteeing all those old firms might just be a bit short-sighted in that they think, right, we're getting the old firms, but then it ruins the interest, like you're saying, because you've got to go to St Johnstone 4 times. It's like, yeah, you got the interest in the old firm, but you got everyone else, all the other like 40 clubs, all a little bit disinterested at times, and it just seems like if they restructure it, like, I find it so weird that the team who finishes bottom of the entire league system gets a chance in a playoff to come up. It's like they have been the worst team, not just in their league, but in the whole thing, and they get the chance to stay up. And it's like, why are they allowed that? Surely they should go down first.
Brecon City have finished bottom of whatever league they've been in for the last 4 seasons.
East Stirlingshire finished bottom of the SPFL for 5 years in a row before they went down.
And at least you've got that trap door. But you know what? I would be a massive fan of a relegation spot in that league, just to go straight down and then a playoff.
Yeah, I think Highland and Lowland playoff, whoever wins that goes straight up. And then whoever finishes second bottom of the SPFL should then face whoever lost the final playoff.
That would be interesting.
Because then, like I said in one of my videos recently, that like the other teams would just become so complacent, especially before the playoff thing came in. Like, if you knew that East Stirlingshire were going to finish bottom every year, and you're Stranraer or Albion Rovers or Queen's Park, and you're in that division, and you know that East Stirlingshire haven't strengthened, what's the point in you strengthening? You know you're not going to go down even if you finish bottom. All you've got to do is not finish below East Stirlingshire, which, to be fair, doesn't seem quite that hard. And so why invest in the players? Why invest in making your squad better? Why invest in improving your stadium and trying to get more fans in? Because at the end of the day, you might lose money, but there's no point in doing that.
There's no guarantee.
Yeah. I think that's where it's stagnated a little bit over the years from what I've kind of looked into. But
like, I thought when they were wanting to do a restructuring, like, and they gave Hearts and Hamilton the sort of task force to do so, like, I thought a 14-14-14 would be quite refreshing in Scotland.
When was this?
This was back during the first lockdown, when they had all that chaos about Dundee switching their vote, and Rangers were making statement after statement after statement, and it was an absolute farce. And I mean, just anything that can change what we've got right now, because I am bored. I'm sick to the back teeth of seeing us play Ross County, St Johnstone, even Hamilton 4 times a season, and that's a derby, and I'm bored of it.
Yeah. See what I mean? Like, this, just having 4 old firms a year doesn't do any favours in the long run. Yeah, you get 4 old firms, but you might get 4 old firms anyway, because they might get to the cup finals, you know what I mean? But I guess they want 6 old firms. It's like they're valuing money and an old firm game over the wellness of the entire league structure, which is going to hurt the old firm in the long run anyway. So you might as well reform it and try and do something different.
It's a very good point. Anyway, we'll move on to the final round, which is make or break, the sort of off-topic questions. The first question I'm going to ask you is the Desert Island Entertainment. What 3 films would you take to Desert Island with you?
Films. I like Catch Me If You Can.
Oh, that's a good film.
That's a bit of a classic. The Beach as well, staying on Leonardo DiCaprio, and you're on a desert island, so it kind of fits. What else? What other films? Maybe it probably have to be like something long, like a Marvel Avengers Endgame or something, just so you can keep yourself entertained for a long time.
Fair game. For me, I've gone with the film Accepted, 10 Things I Hate About You, and Step Brothers.
Oh, Step Brothers, you have to have something funny on the island.
Yeah, brilliant. You have to make a matchday playlist, but can only choose 3 artists.
It'd have to be Eminem. Like, you've got to have something coming out, like one of the old classics, like Without Me or something, or Lose Yourself, coming out to that. Is this like a pre-match playlist, or is this still on the island?
Oh no, this is completely cut off from the island. It's a matchday playlist.
Or yeah, so something to do with Eminem, I guess, and then maybe like Arctic Monkeys as well, something a bit rocky. See, I saw you having your conversation with Robbie Knox, and you were naming all these songs of bands that I'd never heard of. Obviously,
Really?
like listening to music, but yeah, like I wouldn't know like what songs are called and stuff. Like, I like listening to music when I run and stuff like that. But in terms of like knowing who the new cool bands are and stuff, I'm so far out of that loop. As you can tell by the way I called them cool bands. How about yourself? Who would you have? Maybe Tupac as well.
Oh, Tupac, oh, of course. For me, right now, off the top of my head, The Academic. We'll go some Swedish House Mafia, and we'll go for a different type of genre altogether. Bad Sons. We'll go with that.
There you go.
Yeah, there we go. They're a bit similar to The Academic. Oh, doesn't matter. If you can make a 5-a-side team up of players that you've seen play live, who's in it?
Who are we going for in goal? In goal, Pepe Reina. Classic. Quite a lot of these are going to be Liverpool based, I guess. So at the back, I'd have to go. Oh, I'd like to say Carragher, but I also want to say Daniel Agger. I thought Agger was class back in the day, and if he had played in a better team, I think we'd think of him as a better player. I think he played in some pretty average Liverpool teams. So I'll go Pepe Reina, Daniel Agger as my two, obviously keeper, defender, 2 midfielders, Ronaldinho, I'd have to say, and Stevie G, it'd have to be. And up front, I think, see, I've seen Messi, Ronaldo and Suarez play, but I'll say Suarez because I absolutely loved him. He was the shining light of some absolute terrible teams I saw in my time. With Barini, he used to have to play up front with Barini.
Fabio Barini.
You can see how good he is now. The fact that Barcelona got rid of him and he's leading Atletico to the title, that is insane.
I know I think that's top class, because Barcelona have been well off the pace this season, and for once, I actually enjoy watching like sort of the big teams crumble. So seeing Celtic this season crumble for me, I'm finding it very entertaining. But
it's nice to see other people doing things. It's good to like Mbappe and PSG yesterday smashing Barca 4-1. But yeah, my 5-a-side team, I think it'd have to be Reina, Agger, Stevie G, Ronaldinho, and then Suarez.
Fair game.
How about yourself?
Myself, I would go with David Marshall in goal. Or no, wait, Darren Randolph. Yeah, we'll go Darren Randolph, because he was at Motherwell before they signed for Birmingham City. Then defence, Stephen McManus. Although I've seen all these big players, but I'm talking on a regular basis. Midfield, I would go with of James McFadden. Probably go Scott Brown as well. And up front, Michael Higdon. It's a very Scottish Premier League.
I think my team might beat yours.
Yeah, but we've got James McFadden and Michael Higdon. So
yeah, you got heart. I've just got Ronaldinho.
Yeah, Michael Higdon scored 26 goals in one season, so he's got to be there for me.
Fair enough.
Picture the scene. You're in the pick and mix aisle of a sweet shop and can only choose 3 sweets. Who do you choose and why? Or what do you
I'm a
choose?
big fan of the old foamies, you know, like the eggs, the love hearts, all that
All
kind of
right, yeah.
stuff. So I have to go eggs, love hearts, and something with a bit of weight, you know, the rainbow coloured things that are all fizzy and all that. I reckon you could get a good load of
Rainbow
them.
strips, yeah?
Yeah. I'll
Yeah.
go those two, the eggs and the hearts, and then just
They're sour then
whack
sweet.
'em all in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. For me right now, I was told I was a brave man for choosing chocolate raisins in the last podcast.
I'm a big fan. They're
Oh,
criminally underrated in
yes.
my eyes.
There we go.
Hugely
Strawberry.
underrated. They're absolutely class.
They're fantastic, mate.
So overlooked.
Oh, definitely. Strawberry bonbons, and then something to sort of cheat the weight that I've already got in my bag. Probably baby dolphins.
Fair enough. Solid choices.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. At least someone respects my choices.
I just think that the only bad thing about the raisins and the bonbons is they're like a little bit of a different mix and they might rub
Yeah,
off on each other
I,
negatively in the
I,
bag.
because you've
But
got
separately,
separately they're great, but it's like the sort of dust you get off the bonbons that'll be sort of sitting on the chocolate raisins. You know, like I'm not
yeah,
sure about the mix, but aye, we'll go with that.
solid. Now, I think they're so underrated. Who's the most underrated player at the moment? Because they are the chocolate raisin
Uh,
equivalent.
Most underrated player at the moment.
With someone
Before
like
this
Henderson. Henderson's underrated.
before this season, I was going to say Scott McTominay, but this season he's like everyone's raving about him. Um,
Yeah, I think he's still a bit underrated by other fans, but he's got to do it for a bit longer. I think he's on good form. Let's see if he can continue it, especially
aye.
for Scotland.
He's got great potential to sort of replicate the sort of Dan Fletcher sort of mold.
Yeah, that's the mold. Yeah, how annoying for you as a Scotland fan that both your best players are left backs.
I mean, like if they're professional footballers, they'll be able to play in other positions.
Yeah,
It's the
it's just a
fact that
shame, isn't it?
it's the fact
One
that
couldn't have been right-footed. You could have had two
I know,
amazing wing
like if one
fullbacks.
was right footed, that's fine. But at the same time, that would mean that Motherwell wouldn't have an extra player in the starting 11, and if they get selected for the Euros squad, then Motherwell will get money for players being in the squad.
Is that right? Do the clubs get money for the
Clubs, I've
players
been
being
told
there?
that. I mean, I never knew that before because I never needed to, because
Mm.
Scotland never
Yeah,
qualified for anything.
yeah, true.
But no, a lot of people don't realise that there is a lot on the line for clubs in the Scottish Premiership if they've got a player that's in the squad, and like it was never really made a big thing because like down south, like no one really cares that much in terms of
There's
money.
already so much money going to clubs
Yeah,
anyway.
because in England the main income is sponsorship, whereas in Scotland the main income is through the gates or through bonuses from
TV in England as well.
TV and
Massive.
sponsorships in England.
What were your thoughts on the talking of TV money and stuff? What were your thoughts on Jamie O'Hara a few weeks back going on about Fulham winning the Scottish Prem?
Jamie O'Hara is an absolute fanny. He knows
There you go.
nothing.
That's your
Nothing
opinion.
about Scottish football. I'm very confident. I'm in the argument that if Rangers and Celtic were in the Premier League, give them enough money, and like if they had the same budget as the likes of Fulham, who spent £100 million to stay up and got relegated,
and went down. Yeah.
like Rangers and Celtic have the fan base to compete in the top 8, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think you're about right. I think, given obviously if you should put them in now, they would have a Scottish Premiership budget style squad. But yeah, like you say, if they had Fulham money, then of
Like
course.
if you give them like in the same style as Chapecoense after their disaster were given immunity for 3 years in the Brazilian Premier Division to stay up because no matter what, so they had enough time to sort of build their squad up. Like if you did that with Celtic and Rangers would be competing for Europe in the league
Yeah,
without a shadow of a doubt.
I think so as well.
Mhm. Anyway, so I've asked you a few questions. Have you got anything else you want to ask me?
I was going to ask you, what are your thoughts on just in general the SFA, how Scottish clubs are run, and
Oh,
if you were like running a club, especially a smaller one, how would you do it differently? Because I've come into contact with a lot of clubs. Some are brilliant, some are so welcoming to like people like myself and to fans, but I think so many teams, maybe around the world, but obviously just in Scotland where I've been so far in the past year or whatever, have just been so unattainable, like so hard to get a hold of, and not even that big, some
yeah.
of them. And I just find it so frustrating that they're not more connected to not just YouTubers, but
Mm.
I could just be a
I
fan, you
completely
know?
agree. Like, I think football clubs are still a bit whether they should jump on the sort of YouTube bandwagon because there's so many people that are trying to do it. And thing is, YouTube's strength is YouTube's weakness. The fact that anyone can do anything on the platform. And the fact that there's no really
Yeah.
any rules or regulations like there is in the mainstream media, it's always going to be a struggle because they don't know if you're legitimate or not until you've seen the credentials.
Mm-hmm.
So on that, I can see where they're coming from, but it is also I also share your frustration because like I want to achieve so much. Like I've got aspirations that I'll probably tell you after we've uh, done the podcast. But
Yeah.
as a whole, in terms of communication, I think a lot needs to be improved on because like I want to achieve this, but I can only achieve that, and it's one thing that Scottish football needs to improve on because you see a lot down south. Like vlogging is a normality down south, and in London especially. Whereas in Scotland, you've got me, you've got you, we've got a handful of others, and I can't think of many more than probably about 7 or 8 in
Mm-hmm.
Scotland that are regular football vloggers. Hopefully,
Fair
that's
enough.
been a good enough answer.
Yeah, no, it's good. And what other like, because obviously I do a lot of research and stuff online about teams when I go and see them. Is there anything that like as a fan you wouldn't be able to pick up online that's like a nuance of Scottish football that you'd only hear through like being a fan and chatting to other fans? Like that's where I kind of struggle sometimes, is where I can research all these facts, but a lot of the times I don't know how fans feel about certain aspects and stuff like that.
Well,
That's
I'm in several group chats. I could probably get you. I could probably get you hooked up with a few things, uh, which will be interesting because like I do see a lot through the grapevine because of the connections I've managed to get in with. But there's nothing really official. Like all you hear is it's like whispers on the terraces, and then all of a sudden
Mhm.
it develops into something more solid over time.
It's just been, yeah, it's just like hard to actually meet people at the moment,
Oh,
obviously, with what's
it's
going on and stuff, and just be able to like chat and like hear what they think about their clubs and stuff. But yeah, hopefully that will change over the next few months. I'm hoping.
absolutely. And one more thing, I would like you to nominate someone to feature in the next podcast.
Nominate someone to feature. Has Sharp Div been on
Not
recently?
yet, no.
Get him on.
Uh,
Sharp. It's your turn.
yes, I shall message Div and get him
Mm-hmm.
on. As soon as he's past his sort of maternity leave or paternity leave, whatever it is,
Oh yeah, yeah,
because he's
yeah. It's paternity.
dad.
Yeah, fair enough. Shout out to Sharp,
Yeah,
Mr. Div,
yeah,
and his
indeed.
new baby.
Anyway, guys, thank you very much to Sam for coming on, and
Thanks for having me.
yeah, no problem, mate. Absolutely no problem at all. And thank you everyone at home for coming on and watching this far. If you did, and if you enjoyed, please leave a like down below. Subscribe if you're new. I'm goggsysaan. Bet with you were. See you later, guys. Take care.